Hello, 45 Alpha Charlie Papa Channel, and today we are going to take a look at my top 5 kind of forgotten about metal framed 9mm pistols, because metal framed pistols were kind of the norm 20-30 years ago, before Glock came on the scene, before the Wonder 9s, the plastic Wonder 9s. But there's several designs out there that have kind of been forgotten about over the years. With all the new stuff coming in, I just thought we'd go over a few of the more interesting ones. We all know about the CZs, we all know about the Sig Sauers, and some of the other metal framed 9mm out there. There's just not very many anymore. But being the norm back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 40s, these were what was available, and kind of fallen off the map or forgotten about in one way, shape, or form. Anyway, today we're going to start. Now this one is a Norinco. Now you might be saying, that's not 9mm. Well, this one is a Norinco 213. These were available, brought into the country back in the late 80s, early 90s, before Norinco got themselves banned. But this is a copy of the TT-33 Russian Tokarev, but it is chambered in 9mm. Now normally when you find a Tokarev pistol, they are chambered in 7.62 by 25, a very, very hot little round, but there are a few 9mm variants out there, this being one of them. The bluing on this one is really nice. Like I said, they were only imported in the country from about 88 to 92, so about a 4-year window there when you could get these before Norinco got themselves banned. Great little pistol, single stack, 8-round capacity, A+1. We are empty. Very Browning-esque. They took a lot of Browning's ideas and put it into this pistol. 1911 being a little bit of it, some of his earlier work being some of it. Although it is modular, it does have a hammer group that will pull out of the pistol, so it was easy for them in the arsenals to swap parts out for these. But this is the Norinco 213 in 9mm. Nice shooting gun, single action, hammer fired. You do have the safety on here that is required by U.S. imports to have on these imports. But let's take a look at number 4. At number 4, we have got the venerable Walther P38. And this is actually a wartime production. I believe it was made in 1944. Yes, 1944. Made by Walther, AC code. This is an actual World War II manufactured P38. Now they did manufacture as a P01 after the war, so there are parts availability for these, which is nice. This is something I don't take out very often, but it is a fun little 9mm to take out and shoot. Now back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, this pistol was so iconic that most bad guys on your television shows in the day were carrying a P38, or sometimes we saw a Tokarev here and there, but the P38 was very iconic, had some really great lines, very unique shape, very identifiable. Again, a very fun gun to shoot. If you can pick up an old P01, they are a nice firing gun. One of the unique things, or one of the first things on them, is they were the first double action, single action firearms. You can see here, we have a snap cap in here, because you really don't want to dry fire these. It has a cast firing pin in it, which is fine when you're shooting, but if you're dry firing them, they don't hold up very well to that. That was one of the things on these, is that the firing pins on these were a little fragile. But they were the first double action. You can see here the hammer's moving. Single action pistols out there. But that is the P38. You do have a decocker on the side here. So if I were to pull that down, that decocks and puts the gun on safe. But the P38 Walther, with the Walther P38 at number 4. At number 3, we have got the Ruger. This one is the P89, but the Ruger P series, the early P series before they went to the polymer frame. Now these were tanks. They were relatively inexpensive back in the day. A lot of police officers, a lot of security guards carried these. A lot of people bought these. These were, a bedside gun or truck gun. Very, very popular back in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Even when they were discontinued, they were still selling them. They were the polymer frame. They were still selling them fairly well. It went out of favor and was discontinued with the SR series of pistols from Ruger. And a lot of people would love to see Ruger bring this venerable old tank back. They're beefy. They're pretty wide. They're just a big firearm. Again, another hammer fire gun, another double single action. We have clear. Now these you can dry fire, but you've got your double action, single action, pretty decent trigger. Resets, not bad at all. Your reset here, about there, a little bit of take up, and then you hit a wall, and a pretty crisp break. Now these were pretty decent guns. The gun stores love selling these. They were inexpensive. They never really ever had to send them back to Ruger, and with Ruger quality and with Ruger customer service, if you did have an issue, they were always taken care of. But these are kind of been forgotten about with all the new polymer and stuff like that. But if you talk to some of the older guys, the Ruger P series was just a great all-around pistol for Ruger. These were Ruger's first center fire handguns. They did compete in the second round of trials for the M10 contract, which ended up just being the M9. There was a lot of controversy in that with the Beretta being chose. They ran another set of tests. The Ruger really excelled and did well in that test, but they already had the Beretta 92 already picked out for that role. So it just never got necessarily picked up by the military, although the military did buy a few of these later on. But that's the Ruger P89 9mm. Great little gun. This thing feeds everything I've ever fed it, from weak steel cased loads to really hot plus P loads. It was designed to take plus P and shoot plus P all day long. It's just overbuilt, as most Rugers are, and just reliable as can be. But that's the P89 at number 3. Now we are about halfway through this list, and I thought I'd throw in an honorable mention. What we have here is the Polish Model 35 Radom made Viz. Or if you read the side here, it is the FB Radom Viz Model 35. Kind of a mouthful. Most people know these as the Viz pistol or the Model 35. Polish Radom, another name for them. You find all of them, but if you look at this, it is a 9mm 1911 with high power kind of internal working parts. A lot of the working parts inside are more high power. The exterior is a lot more 1911. Now this one is honorable mention simply because it does run and fire, but it stovepipes a lot right now. It needs an extractor. However, parts for these, being that they were only made for the 5 years before Polish fell to Germany, and then Germany made them throughout the war. This one happens to be one of the early German variants. It is a 3-lever Radom. Nice firing, soft shooting, 9mm, single action only. We are empty. We do have a snap cap down in there if you can see that. Again, older gun, you really don't want to dry fire these. You've got, you know, a decocker here on the side that moves the firing pin out of the way and decocks the pistol. But single action only. Really, really cool firearm. A lot of history here. But like I said, parts are hard to find on it. Once I find an extractor for this, we'll get that put in. Single stack. You do have the more Western magazine release. 8-round mag. Just a wonderful pistol all the way around. These Radoms, these pistols were very well loved back in the day. Very well used in the war. You can see some splotching and stuff on this one. But it does function. It's just the extractor is weak on it. I can typically get the first magazine through it. After that, I start having stovepipe. Actually, not even stovepipe, a lot of double feeds, because as soon as the extracted round hits the ejector, it falls off the extractor. So, unfortunate, but we'll find an extractor for this one and get this one up and running. But that's an honorable mention right here in the middle of the list, the Polish Radom. Now we are getting into my top two. And if you notice, everything on the table there has been hammer fired, and everything will continue to be. I'm a big hammer fired guy. A lot of these metal frame pistols were all developed back when double single action was the thing. Very few striker fire pistols were being made at that point. But what we have here is the Stoeger Cougar, or the Beretta 8000, I believe is what it originally was. Beretta owns Stoeger, so when Beretta discontinued the 8000 in their lineup, or making them in Italy, they shipped all of that equipment over to their Stoeger plant in Turkey. So this is a Turkish made but a European owned company, Stoeger, and they continue to make the Stoeger Cougar. They still do. Unfortunately, it's no longer being imported to the United States. They still import it in Europe, but they've gone to a polymer striker fired 9mm. But this one was available in 9mm in 40, 357 SIG. Really cool pistol. It's got a rotating barreled action on it. And again, we've got a snap cap on these, because these, especially in the instructions, instruction not to dry fire, because the firing pins, again, like most European guns, are cast. Not a big issue as long as you're firing ammo through it, but if you dry fire, that tends to be hard on them. But you've got a nice double action, single action. Now that's where this one shines. We do have the Picatinny rail on here, so you can mount an optic or a light or something on there. Whatever you prefer. Makes a great concealed carry handgun. It's not all that big. It was supposed to be just a little bit smaller than the 92 to be more concealable. 15 round double stack magazine, although 10 rounders are available. 10 rounders are what they're making now. The 15 rounders, you either have to go with originals if you can find them, or I believe you can get Metgar ones, and I believe also that other magazine company, ProMag, also makes some magazines for these. I don't know how well they work, but I just use the original. I have found a few originals over the years, or you can get new ones, but they are 10 rounds. Now what puts this one over there into the top two is the trigger. Double action trigger is not gritty. It's very, very smooth. Operates really nice. It's not all that heavy. Just a great trigger. Very Smith & Wesson double action. Very Smith & Wesson double action like on the trigger. Where this one shines is the reset and the single action. There's the reset right there. Let's do that again. Look at that short reset. That is striker fired reset. I mean, that is short and a very crisp break. So these have a tremendous trigger on them for a double single action gun. Very quick follow-up shots. You've got the rotating barrel, very soft shooting. You've got the mass of the metal, also makes it very soft shooting. This one happens to have been reconfigured to a G model, which means if I pull the decocker here, it is just a decocker. It is not a safety, but most of these you find will be safety models where it will stay down here when you decock it. But this one has been turned over to a G model. Very easy to do because this one was originally a safety model, but very easy to do. I've got a video on that, but that is at number 2, the Stoeger Cougar. And at number 1, back to an American-made, American-designed pistol, the Smith & Wesson 3rd generation. This one happens to be a 6904, but the 2nd and 3rd generation Smith & Wesson semi-autos were really, really fine firearms. Now you could get them anywhere from kind of not a whole lot of refinement to them, kind of big and bulky, to ones like this that have a little bit more refinement to them. They've been shaved down a little bit. They're not quite as bulky. This one, 6904 and the 6906 are a compact version. 12-round magazine. We are empty. Bobbed hammer for concealed carry. It does have a magazine safety in it. Very nice double action pull. Again, very similar to a Smith & Wesson revolver. And you know, when these were coming out, they were replacing Smith & Wesson revolvers with the semi-autos. Now these also were in the M9 trials. However, the Beretta 92 is what ended up becoming the M9 pistol. But these were a very close second. And a lot of FBI, a lot of government agencies went with these Smith & Wesson second and third generation guns. This one does have decocker safety, so it's in safe mode. I wish this was a decocker only. They did make a few, but not very many. Almost all of them are going to have the safety on it. Again, the trigger is great. The one thing that really stands out on this trigger, very much like the Stoeger, you can see that reset. That's it. There's your reset. Again, striker fire reset on a hammer fired gun, and a very no take up and a very, very crisp break. Those in the know that these old Smith & Wessons were wonderful, wonderful handguns. I do have this in a K Tactical 1911 Ultra holster. Fits really well in that. So there's another gun that fits in this holster. We'll be talking more about these K Tactical holsters here in another video. But at number 1, 2nd and 3rd gen Smith & Wessons, particularly this one, the 6904. Now this is 45 Alpha Charlie Papa channel. Please like, subscribe. If you like the video, comment down below. Hey, just comment down below. If you didn't like the video, comment down below. This is 45 Alpha Charlie Papa channel, and I am out.